Welcome to Mastering Military Life. This is Lori Medford. She is a military spouse out of Fort Leavenworth area. And she's joining us today to share her incredible story about how we can make friends faster. So, Lori, welcome. There was a study, well, there's a number of studies, but there was one conducted in 2023 where 1,100 respondents responded to the Institute of Military and Veteran Wellness. And they basically said that 65% of them felt lonely after PCSing, and they said that they were having difficulty making friends and connections after their move. So this is obviously a huge issue in our military community, and I'm so excited to hear from you today about the kind of tips and tricks that you've used to create better connections more quickly once you guys have moved. So, Lori, can you tell me a little bit about your background? Like what was your military life like?
I met my husband. I met him when he was probably 4 years in to the service, and he actually was stationed at my hometown. So I got to know him, met him, and I had never dated anyone military. I wasn't raised military, but of course, you know how the love bug hits and doesn't really care. But so we got married. Didn't even register, yeah, we're not going to stay here forever. We're going to have to PCS. I mean, there I was with family, friends, work,
Was
and
that first duty station?
the where we met
Yeah.
was Fort Sill. We got our first orders right after our second child was born.
And
I
how
know.
long was it after you guys got married and had your second child that you got your first orders?
We got married in 2000, got our first orders in 2003.
And so for those couple of years, it kind of felt like you had a false sense of community, right? Like you had all your friends and family around. You're like, what are you talking about? This military life is lonely. What are you guys
Yeah,
complaining about?
right, right. And at that point, I didn't see the. I mean, yes, I went to the hail and farewells and the unit functions just for the social aspect of it, but I made some friends through his unit, there's spouses and those type of relationships, but they weren't as important because I had my lifelong base right there. So here we go, 2003, and get stationed in DC. DC of all places.
That's a rude awakening for your first stop away from home for you.
Yeah, yeah. With two babies. I mean, they were very little.
Okay,
So
so
you
tell me about
feel,
what that was like. You arrive in DC and he goes basically right to work. What does
right?
your daily life look like?
You know, I'm a very social person. And I was a little bit, it was a shaker. He had another guy that was also field artillery that we got to know when in DC, and his spouse, and they had children that were very close to our kids' age. We've really built a bond with them pretty quickly. So they were kind of our lifeline during that time in DC. We were only there for 6 months. I knew it wasn't going to be forever. So, we had that small little group that we hung out with.
Yeah, but I think
Um,
we any of our service members can make that excuse. 6 months of isolation is a long time. Like 6 months to say, oh, I'm just gonna suck it up. I don't really want to get connected to anyone here because you could do that your entire career.
right, right. I looking for MOPS programs,
Mm.
mothers of preschoolers. Um, DC, nothing is close by. So, but I'm like, heck, I will get on that beltway and drive somewhere just to one, give my kids some interactions, and two, I can, build some relationships with other little mommies.
So you started with looking online for meetups that fit kind of what you were looking for in terms of connection. So did you join a MOPS group when you got there?
I did. I did, and I really enjoyed it. It was good.
Did you feel like was there a large amount of military families or military moms who were basically there?
Oh, no, no, not the ones, DC's so big that and we lived in like Falls Church. So we had to, no, not a lot of military where we were living. So, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
like I personally like to meet locals. Yeah, you
Why?
kind of,
Why did you feel like meeting locals was helpful versus meeting people who are also transition?
because you can learn about the area. You really can learn about the area by talking to locals.
Mhm. What did you make any connections that you're still in contact with today from that group?
Yes, yes,
Really?
yeah. Just yeah. I mean, none that yeah we talk on a regular basis, but yes, Facebook friends and
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So when Brad did his first deployment, Wesley was 8 weeks old, and I was in my hometown, San Diego, but everyone had kind of moved on and were running their lives, and I had been working before we had Wesley, and I did the same thing. I joined like a local stroller strides group, and I
Oh,
religiously went there for 4 to 5 days. A week and just created connections, and yeah, we're all still connected on social. But to me, that was a lifeline. It was like if
mm-hmm.
he's gone, help me pass the time, create these connections, even though I knew we may not be there forever. We ended up being there forever, but it really like created that built-in community that I needed, right? So you
Yeah.
guys are in DC, you're there for 6 months. Where do we go next?
To College Station, Texas. So that not a military town, but they have the Corps of Cadets because uh, Todd was going to get his master's at Texas A&M. So, um, but yet, oh, and the funny thing is the couple that we met in DC, because they were in DC for language training, because they were going to be uh, foreign area officers for Dutch speaking countries. So that family went to A&M with us as well. So, yeah, here we got to meet them in DC, and then here they are in College Station. Um, yeah. So not
For good or for bad, sometimes that happens. We see that happen in, for instance, our PCS Pay It Forward communities all the time, right? Where someone says, I'm coming, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be stationed together again. So this is also a kind reminder to our new military spouses, don't burn bridges because
right,
as big as this community is, it can be real small. You can see the same people from duty station to duty station, whether you get along with them or not.
right. I mean, we never looked at it as goodbye when we were PCSing out. We always told each other, "Hey, we will see you later," because you will cross paths somehow. Somehow. I mean, whether they come, especially here where we are now, we still
Mhm.
see people that Todd served with.
Do you recommend that people start looking into finding these kind of local communities that fit where they're at in their life and fit where they're at in their family before they move? Or when does that process usually start?
If you have that advantage of knowing like 6 months out or even longer, some people know a year out when they're going to PCS. That's even better. Just start doing your research.
What
Get
is
on
research? We hear about that. We
whether
hear that term so much these days. What is research in your opinion right now?
get on all those spouses pages. Get on, I mean, heck, we have PCS Pay It Forward right there. We
Yeah.
we give we give so much information, and people ask questions all the time that, or you can ask questions. But yeah, spouses pages, and yeah, the big thing, which I wish they had had when I was a young mom with littles, that like you said, the stroller workout. I My kids were like middle school and high school when the first time I saw those on post. I'm like, what? I would have been I would have been right in the middle of that. But I think ours is called Sweat Like a Mother. And it's really funny. Don't you think it's funny how for so long of our, I mean, for 18 years, and depending on how many kids you have, your kids really kind of direct your social life. Yeah, look up those because those are all over the country. Because I look at that as you're working out, you're staying healthy, your kids have got something to do, and you're meeting people. And they're pretty tight, those groups. Definitely check into the schools and see how they work their volunteer program. Volunteering in the classroom is really good, or at a school as a whole. Just finding local gyms. We've got a cute little place here in town called, it's brand new, Rough and Bumble. And it's like a little play bounce place and it's got a little coffee shop in the back in a
Yeah, they
way.
drive a lot of the connection,
They,
right?
right.
I often tell people I don't know if I have a ton of time for friends outside of connections with my kids right now. But, and so being, this is probably a whole episode in and of itself, like being a military spouse without children is another obstacle, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
piggybacking those kids, if you have them, I think is incredibly powerful. We were talking this week, about the importance of when you're on the sidelines of your kids' sporting activities, like sit next to a different parent, right? So some of it is opening yourself up to relationship. I don't think that we realize how closed off we are as a community and how sometimes that can also be intimidating for people who are not in the military community, right? And so, when we're on the sidelines, making sure that we're sitting next to a parent every single week and introducing ourselves and asking them questions. And, studies show that the people like people who allow them to talk. So the best thing we can do is ask other people's questions. And so we can learn about
Yeah.
them, and that gives the opportunity for us to then find and create a connection. So I think that it's a balance between using online tools, but also meeting people in person. And what's also, I
Hmm.
think, has happened over the last decade or so is that our spouses have become heavily reliant on these online communities versus creating in-person connection, which has made the loneliness feel that much more deep.
I was just going to say on the online connections, use those as a tool to find those resources to get to them. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how else you would find some of I don't know.
You know what's so funny? I feel like there was this great TikTok, and I know you and I are both on TikTok, right? And there's this great TikTok, like probably a year ago, that hit my feed, and it was this dad who was teaching her like for his 14-year-old daughter like how to be a normal human, right? He was like, okay, I am the friend's house. You're gonna knock on the door. You're gonna ask if Elizabeth can play, right? And she knocks, and where they're like role playing this.
I
Have
think
you
I
seen
saw
that
that.
one?
Yes.
And I'll clip it in the show notes so everyone can check it. And she knocks, and he opens the door, and she's like standing nose to door. And he's like, why are you standing so close? Like, what is wrong with you? Here's the thing. That is the world that we live in right now, where we have to relearn how to create like in-person connection with people. And we kind of have to practice, right? We don't have as many opportunities to practice because everyone is so distracted by the digital world that's happening. And so I think about number one, we have to put ourselves out there digitally if we want to make friends. If you are in a PCS Pay It Forward community, and you are lonely, I want to encourage you to post in that community this week and say, I am doing this. Okay. I don't want you to say, I'm looking for other, 25 with kids who want to connect. No, we're putting ourselves in a position where the plan has to be made, right? Why not say, I am taking my son to this park at this time and I am getting Starbucks. Who wants to come with me? And so sometimes we wait for the plans to be made for us to then, kind of come be the plan maker. Be the plan maker. We got to put ourselves
Hmm.
out there. And then number two, we got to put our phones away when we're together, people. Because if we are distracted by the world that is not in front of us when we are creating space to make connection, it's not possible. You're just going to leave that shared experience feeling alone again, right? And so put
Yeah.
your phone away, ask some questions. If there's not an immediate connection, that's okay. Spending time with people gives you opportunities to practice. You both may decide, like you and that friend who show up at the park, you both may decide after that, well, that was good, but we're never doing that again, right? That was great. Right idea, wrong person. And so just to recognize that, to say that's okay. That it's not always going to be a win.
Some people, I get it. Some people have a very hard time opening up and just putting themselves out there. So that might give them an avenue to inch in there.
I think that we have to retrain ourselves in practicing to make connection. And so when we're looking at like kind of using digital resources to like make in-person connections, I guess my other challenge would be is why not look for like if you love Star Wars, like look for Star Wars meetup. It doesn't have to be around your friends, right? If you
Yeah.
love coffee, like there's coffee making class. If you love book club, like is there a local book club, right? Like Bunko. I mean, find what kind of gives you that inch and that interest that would then maybe a friendship could catapult off of. But then you gotta go, right? We gotta put it on our calendar. We have to make it a priority. And I feel like the other thing that military spouses are not good at is prioritizing our personal well-being, saying this is something that I need to do because it's important to me and it's a part of my mental health. And so often our spouse comes home from a long day at work and they've been at training and they were, they deploy in a couple weeks. And so we need to be there. We have to make it a priority. We can't just keep putting our calendar and canceling. I feel like this is like being able to make friends fast is a important skill for new military spouses to practice and to master.
Why be lonely? And just someone to share how you're feeling, or you know we all know that raising children brings obstacles, and it's nice to have somebody else to talk to about it. Find out, hey, what are you doing when this kid is throwing these tantrums over this? How do you handle that? I mean, it's and just someone just to share things with, just have a camaraderie.
Do you have any tips for someone who is arriving soon and doesn't know who to put on their emergency contact on their kids' schools?
Yes. I As we are unpacking the truck, I I am looking around. If I see neighbors, I make sure I go over and introduce. Todd and I go over together, introduce ourselves. If they have kids, we try to get our kids. They it's man, kids are a great tool. They
You know what
really
else is a great tool? Pets. So when we
yes,
relocated to Tennessee, we took the boys out for a walk and we brought the Basset Hounds because, it just creates a great immediate connection. People want to know, are they friendly? Can we pet them? It's like, oh, great, we just moved in. Oh, wonderful, how long have you lived here? And it just creates this immediate connection with anyone else we saw on the street. So one of the tools that we used to connect it, with people when were new to the neighborhood was we wanted to take a evening walk 2 to 3 times a week because we just found every time we went on a walk,
yeah,
we met a neighbor and we met a new potential friend.
yep,
And using those pups to bridge that gap really helped make conversations easier.
it does. Pups and kids, yeah. I mean, just anything that people have in common that you have, and when we moved off post, you just just have to force yourself to get to just meet them, chat with them. You may realize that, yeah, I don't know if I want to hang out with them, but you at least, you at least have a connection of some sort. I think it's really important to know your immediate neighbors at least.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, the first thing I do is get those, and I would volunteer at the school too, whatever school the kids were at. Volunteer there, get those connections, and then you have I think you have to have 3 emergency contacts. That
Yeah.
that's a lot, that's a lot of stress. Especially, I can't imagine someone who doesn't get put themselves out there
Yeah.
and meet people. Like, what do they put? I guess maybe their spouses, maybe some people at their spouses' work.
Yeah. But they're just meeting their command too. It's not
Yeah,
like it's more uncomfortable, I feel like, at work to be like, hey, if I can't go get my kid, can you go get my kid? That's really what we're asking, right? Is can you be available in the event of an emergency?
right.
And largely the answer for active duty is no, which is why we have to ask neighbors, right? Because we don't know
Right.
if they'll be available. And it's
And I think
really,
that's why it's also important to go to those hail and farewells and welcome, any unit socials. Get to know the spouses. That's when you're going to get to know a lot of them. And you might have build couple friends relations, like couples to go on double dates with. And, yeah.
man, it
I
is.
remember haunting places that had looking looking for places that were doing parents' night out. That was always a big thing. And find another couple and go to a dinner and a movie, while your kids are playing somewhere together. Yeah.
It is, so let's end this with some tactical steps. If someone is arriving at base, what should they do in their first 30 days to set themselves up for success in friendships and connection?
Hmm. First, meet your immediate neighbors if you can, if they're home. Um, get depending a lot of neighborhoods have neighborhood gatherings. Find out if your neighborhood has a Facebook page, get on there and find out what's going on in our neighborhood, what's going on in the community. I Get out and explore. Um, I I mean, it all just falls into place. I guess get involved. Yeah, get if you are into quilting, find a quilting place. But you're going to find number one, you're going to make connections, and there could people connections of people that like doing the same thing you like doing. Go to the gym. I was the healthiest I ever was at the beginning, like as soon as we PCS places. That was I would go to the gym all the time because I would meet people there. And then after I met people, I quit going to the gym and I got fat again. So um yeah, do find if your kids are involved in sports, get to know those parents. I mean, I it's funny, isn't it, how some things just come so naturally that you don't even realize that for some people that's a chore. And I
I
get
know.
it because not everyone is extroverted.
We do things that we feel comfortable, that we've had practice in. It's like we go into this subconscious mode, and that's where you're at. Is you're in the subconscious mode. It's like, how do you not make friends? Right? You just go out and you just meet people. I don't want to say that. I need that to come from you. Can you do that?
Oh gosh, was that recorded?
Mm-hmm. I don't. Yeah.
Okay,
But here's the
so
thing, you're at the point where you can subconsciously make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't want my version of the answer. I want your version of the answer.
okay,
So
okay.
if if there's a military spouse who just arrived, what do you recommend they do in the first 30 days to make friends and build connection at their new base?
Make a strong effort to get to know your neighbors, whether it be being, you know, it's always good to let them play out front instead of play in the backyard. Because if they're playing out front, you're going to see other kids. Kids, it's like you let them play, they will come. There, you so that the kids are going to build relationships, and then you get to know those parents. Go on walks. Definitely go on walks. Join the gym. Join. I. It's not for everyone, but I can tell you the spouses club here is pretty phenomenal. It's pretty good. And they have not only are you when you go to the spouses club are you meeting spouses immediately right there, but then they have subgroups. So they've got one for bunco, they've got one for foodies, they've got one for wine drinkers. They've got something for everyone. So right there, then you're going to get a more specific friend group. Volunteer at your kid's school. Yeah, whether it be in the classroom, go in and ask, hey, do y'all need help cutting stuff out for bulletin boards or whatever it might need, making copies. There's all kinds of things that you can do in a school. You can even be on the sub list. They're always needing substitute teachers. Get involved in the volunteering outside. There is all kinds of things to do to volunteer, especially on post. I mean, you got ACS that you can get involved with. There's food pantries. There's if you're into horses, we've even got a stable out there that you can go and help volunteer out there. The animal shelter. So I think it's work. It is. Those first 30 days is work because you've got to get yourself out there. You got to get you've got to build that support system because it's the military world can be a very lonely world if you allow it. So I think you got to look out for you and find some connections.
For people before they come, right? I'm not physically there. What like digital resources would you recommend people use today? So that way when they get there for the first 30 days, they hit the ground running, right? What group should they join? Can you kind of give me a rundown of what you would do digitally to kind of prepare yourself for a connection before you arrive?
Social media is, it's a double-edged sword, but it is a great way to find information, resources. I mean, spouses pages, but I'm telling you, our Fort Leavenworth PCS Pay It Forward is. I look. That's one reason why I love being an ambassador for that. I would have loved to have something like that back when Todd was. Our kids were little, and he was active duty, and I was trying to find myself every time we moved. Um, So that's why I love the fact that we're always plugging in. Not only, I mean, yes, we help with all types of housing, but we also help people get connected. We give them resources of things to do with your kids and jobs. Help them find a job. I mean, especially right now. I mean, we need we got to help our people.
Yeah.
Um, I social media is kind of the way. And then once you find your avenue off of social media, then you can start making real authentic connections.
I love that. Lori, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited for people who listen to this who look need a more strategic approach to making connections and making friends. You said it best. I mean, the military life can be a very lonely one if you let it. And some of us have let
Hmm.
it, right? We've retreated back into our phone, we've retreated back into our digital space. It's easier, but the long-term effects of kind of isolation and disconnection really has a negative impact on our community. So if you are someone who is relocating in the next 30 days, take Lori's advice, okay? Look for online resources. Join your local PCS Pay It Forward community. Say, I'm coming in 30 days and I enjoy doing this. Who wants to do it with me, right? Get involved and follow her 30 days, your first 30 days success formula, and really ride the benefit of all those connections that you make. If you try hard for 30 days, you can really set yourself up for success for your entire time that you're stationed at a duty
Hmm.
station. So, Lori, thank you so much for sharing your way that you mastered military life with us today.
Well, you are welcome.